All right, so Peter Hunt, welcome to the podcast. Appreciate you doing this. I'm sure agents that will listen or watch this will get a lot of takeaways. But first, let's give some people some context. How long in the business? What market are you in? And then what was your 2022 production?
Okay. I am in the business about 2 years and 5 months at this point. I was a retailer, merchandiser, and ran the men's division of a couple of retail companies before I got into real estate. And the pandemic kind of put the nail in the coffin of the last company that I worked for. So I had to make that transition. I was at home anyway. I said, you know what? Let me think about something else. And my mom was a realtor years ago, 25-year, really great career here in central New Jersey. And that's where I am. Um, so I decided to go for my license. And the challenge there was during the pandemic, I couldn't take the state test in order to get licensed. Like I passed the school, but I
Yeah,
had to hang on to all that information for 5 months, 6 months before I was able to take the test. So I got licensed and got started really in September of 2020.
got
And
it.
yeah, so that last quarter of 2020, I got my toe in the water and actually closed a couple of deals. I did 5 deals in 2020. My first deal was a $67,000 mobile home. My second deal was a $700,000 purchase, and then I listed his house and sold that for 750. So my first 3 deals kind of, it all averaged out kind of where I wanted to be. But it's all good practice in the beginning, so you take what you can get. And
I love it.
yeah, so I had a good kickoff to the business, and in 2022, or actually 2021, my biggest challenge was I was kind of leaning far too into buyer side purchases, and I was also getting leads from my company had signed us in with OpCity or Realtor.com.
Sure.
So I
Yep.
had these leads coming in that I was actually good at converting. And I closed 16 deals in 2021 and did about $6.5 million in volume, right around there. But more than half of them were buy side deals. I think it was like 10 buy side deals, and I had 6 listings. And my goal for 2022 was, and I mentioned this before, get healthy, right? Get your
Yep.
body in shape, get your mind right, and start listing houses. So my goal was to flip it and try to get to somewhere around 65% listings and 35% buyers. I almost got there. I got to about 60%. So that's basically what I did. And in 2022, I actually um, closed 31 properties. It was about almost $12.9 million in sales. And like I said, predominantly listings. And I ended up ranked number 2 in my agency. We're the number 1 Century 21 company in the state of New Jersey, and I ranked number 26 in GCI out of all Century 21 agents in the state of New Jersey. So,
It's phenomenal. And that's,
yeah,
Peter, I mean, that is truly incredible in such a short amount of time because you were successful before you got into real estate. And you and I talked about, having to replace that income. And I think you've surpassed that because last year in 2022, what was the total GCI?
I ended up netting after splits and everything, or grossing about 215 grand,
Yeah. And
and
that was, yeah, go ahead.
higher. That's more money than I ever made in the retail sector, and I was a pretty well established merchandiser, making in the 150 to 175 range. So
Sure.
I made more money last year in my second year of real estate than I did after a 30-year career in retail. Right. So
Unbelievable. So thanks for sharing that because now I like to start there because so everybody knows, okay, here's what's possible. Now, Peter, let's get into some of the tactical how to's because that's what everybody wants to know. So
sure.
you did 31 sides, just under $13 million last year in 2022, most of which were listings taken, listings sold.
Right.
So let's start at the top and then we'll work our way down. What lead sources are you finding the most success with?
Well, and I mentioned this to you the last time we spoke. We didn't get that conversation out there, but um, I'm a big bullseye prospector, right?
I love
So
it.
I have
So,
a very, very large community that I live in. I live in a town called Old Bridge, New Jersey. There's 24,000 uh, home homes in the area. Okay, rentals and people that own their homes. So there's a large population for me to pick from, and we also have a lot of folks that are out there and have owned their homes for a long time. So what made sense for me because of my age, I'm not a baby. I mean, I got into this business at the age of 56.
Sure.
I can connect with people of my own age group, even older than me, and help downsizers and seniors to transition from their homes. So that to me made the most sense, right?
Yep.
Just because I speak their language, their kids may have gone through school when I went through school, when my kids went through school, and we have that connection, and I kind of hang my hat in my town. So that was number one, was really chasing bullseye and downsizers within my community. I also identified an investor, and believe it or not, I found this investor through, I coached their son in football.
Oh, is that right? That's cool.
Yeah. So
yeah.
She owns multiple businesses, but has been flipping houses for a while. So I did a couple of deals with her last year where I identify the buy, make the buy, negotiate it all for her. She does her work. I list it. I get it back onto the market. Sometimes we'll pick up additional clients from that too. So
that's great. So for the audience, Peter, can you just define kind of what, when we're talking about bullseye prospecting, can you give them some context as to what that is and more about what it means?
So for people that are not familiar with the term, circle prospecting is often thrown around in the real estate circles. What I do is I will, and this is before I really got active and had my own listings to talk about.
Right.
I would look for things that my brokerage listed in my area, or it could be just another agency in the area that is in my sweet spot, right? And I will make a phone call down the street. Just go in. I'm a Red X guy, so I go into Red X and I just pick a block. And if 18 Wendy Drive goes on for sale or just closed, I will get on the phone and say, Brandon, this is Peter Hunt. I'm a local agent in the area. I don't want to take too much of your time. I just wanted to give you some neighborhood news. 18 Wendy Drive just went up for sale. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath with a great built-in pool in the back. Who do you know that might be thinking about coming to the neighborhood? Any friends or family? It's a yes or no answer, but it's, you'll get somebody will say, oh, my son's actually looking great. Maybe I can help him with that house. And if it doesn't go in that direction and they say, no, I don't know anybody, how long have you lived in the area? And just start having a conversation talking about their home ownership. And, oh, wow, you're in the area. Wow, 15 years. I've been living here for 40. Oh, yeah. And it just kind of goes in that direction. Build some rapport on that call. And again, try to, at the same point, get information from them on when they actually would want to transact. And this is where I've been able to find some people and nurture people and convert them down the line. I've never had anybody say, hey, come to my house Saturday and list me. Right. But I do have people say, my husband is retiring in 6 months and we're thinking about moving to Florida.
That's great.
Why don't you have me over? I'll take a look at your house. We'll talk about it and what the market could bring. And I've had more than one listing go in that direction from Bullseye prospecting. So that's essentially what I do.
That's great. That's great. And so really you've made outbound prospecting a service activity to serve the community, to say, hey, here's what's happening, right? We're just reporting what has already occurred. Yep. Find out if they know of anybody that want to move into their neighborhood. You get an opportunity to pick your neighbor. Oh, no. And then that naturally opens up the conversation about the actual homeowner that you're talking to and what their potential plans are. Now, and then you're doing that around a specific property that's either hit the market, went under contract, or is sold, right, which gives you something specific to reference on that conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. And yesterday, I was doing exactly this and doing bullseye prospecting on something locally, and there happened to have been within 2 blocks of that house a closing this week, 2 under contracts this week, and 1 that hit the market. So it all of a sudden it became, hey, I got almost a newsletter to talk about. Did you hear about the one on Bertrand? Did you hear about the one on Grace? Did you hear about this one? And got some good conversations going yesterday, and actually got 2 leads yesterday from this of people that will be selling in the next 18 months. One a little closer, but one out about 1.5 years. So it's all about staying in touch and becoming their go-to friend, right?
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. So So would you say that's your number one lead source? Like of the 31 deals you did last year, would you say the vast majority have come through just outbound lead
Yep.
generation?
Absolutely. And then I also have I never had a for sale by owner before I joined this group. And I actually didn't get a for sale by owner listing until the middle of 2022. But
Wow.
I did 3 FISBOs last year.
Awesome.
One of them right now is under contract. One of them is a tough listing. I took it though, and
Sure.
another one I did close on. So I hit the FISBOs every day. Everything that comes up in my area, I do expand on it, not just in my neighborhood, but
Sure.
I'll look within 25 miles of me, and I have conversations first thing every morning on FISBOs.
Yeah, and we're going to get into the daily schedule in just a second. And two, you just brought up something interesting, Peter, and that's why I like the approach of working a specific niche or neighborhood like bullseye prospecting or downsizers is because when you secure that business, often you're not having to compete with 25 different agents. Often you're not getting beat up on commissions like you are with for sale by owners and expires and some
Sure.
of the lower hanging fruit in our business. And so, yeah, are the conversations typically with people that are looking to do something further out into the future? 100%. However, if you can nurture that business correctly, which we'll talk about, this is like some of the easiest business to convert. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And when you get that downsizer business going, when you find that person that's been in the house for 25 years that finally decides to get off the fence and they have a great experience with you, guess what? They still have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in the neighborhood that they've been friendly with forever.
True.
And they're going to refer your business and just say, hey, it was seamless. It was great. It was painless. Give this guy a call.
It's a great point. It's a great point. So walk us through the daily schedule. Like if we were to fly into the city and hang out with you maybe for a day or a week, what does the normal schedule look like when you're really getting after it?
Well, I've taken over my couple of years in the business, I've looked at a lot of different ideas on schedules, where you should be placing your focus. What I like to do, and I mentioned to you before we got on here, was some physical stuff in the morning when I'm able, and I do a little bit of journaling. I'm staring at my Carpe fucking Diem book on the table over
I
there.
love it. Yeah.
So I'm doing that on a daily basis. I started that at the beginning of the year, and I'm finding that really helpful. Once I'm done with all of that, my coffee and all that stuff, I start with some role play in the morning. I have a consistent role play partner, Nicole Mook. She's in Princeton, New Jersey. Nicole and I have been role playing for about a year now, and I've
Awesome.
had some other people in and out of role play. Usually, I'm done with role play by 8 or 8:15. And then I jump on the phones and start making FISBO calls and fresh expireds.
Okay.
Okay, that I will hit first thing in the morning, and I will predetermine in the morning as soon as I'm done with my journaling what I want to approach in the afternoon. Do I want to go after old expireds? Do I want to look at things that expired six months to 18 months ago, right? Or do I want to do bullseye prospecting that day? So I will carve out time for a later session in the day and do that. Schedule out your lunch break. I also, kind of took some advice from you from last year and have a Pomodoro clock on my desk. So I do 45 minutes, 15-minute break. Yeah, 15-minute break could be taking the dogs out for a quick walk, or I pick up a guitar and play for 5 minutes and put it down
Very cool.
and jump back in.
So how many contacts does that typically yield you? If you prospect for a couple hours in the morning, how many people are you typically talking to?
We have a slow pickup rate in New Jersey. Everybody that I talk to typically has the same
Yeah.
story. Since I went to a triple line dialer, I'm definitely getting a higher pickup rate. Typically, I'm getting around that 7 now, as far as actual contacts.
7 per hour, right?
7 per hour.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes a lot of
Believe
sense.
me, everybody needs to understand this too. When you are doing these prospecting calls, not every hour is going to be 7, right?
That's right. It's an average.
I think it was last Thursday. I had an hour in the morning where I made 130 calls. I had 2 pickups, and both of them were wrong numbers.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's frustrating.
so 0. But on the flip side, you'll have another hour where you might get 15. So don't get discouraged about what that number is. It ends up being an average over time.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So if you're doing, and then what are you doing? What do you have a goal that you try to hit every day? Are you trying to hit 15, 20 a day? Are you trying to hit 100 a week? I mean, when you break down the numbers, what does the business plan say that you've got to do this, this year?
Well, the business plan says, and I just opened it up,
I love it.
that I need to.
What's the annual number?
I'm sorry?
Or go ahead. Yeah, I don't know if you're going to put the annual number out there, and then I can just divide it for the people.
Yeah, no, the annual leads that I need to generate for my 41 listings taken is 668.
So that's how many leads you need, right?
Well, leads. I need to have. I need to make 6,680 calls.
Yes, got it.
668 leads for 167 listing appointments, and 117 where I actually go on them to get 41 listings and close 29. That's my goal for this year.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. And when you have the plan, it makes it very clear as to, hey, this is what I need to be doing. This is where I need to focus. And every month we can review that to say, are we on track? Are we not off track? And what do we have to change to stay on track? So how many, if you're going to do 41 listings taken this year, do you go on a couple appointments a week? Is that the average week for Peter? Or how many people do you usually go and visit every week?
The goal is, right now, the goal is to get to 4 a week.
Got it.
And I've been, as you know, I had an accident recently, so I'm just starting to get my business ramped up. So like this week, I've got 2 appointments.
Sure.
I have a good listing appointment on Saturday that I'm really confident on. I had one this week that he wasn't ready, so we didn't get anything going there. So I have some ground to make up, but 4 a week would be an ideal number for me.
Got it. And so let's shift over to the appointment, Peter. Is there any advice, tips, things that you've learned along the way that you find that are helping you on these appointments acquire new listings and win new clients?
Well, the number one thing that I can suggest to anybody is do a great job of understanding your client before you go out. Don't think that this potential lead is going to turn into a listing when you haven't pre-qualified them accurately. If they're not giving you their motivation on the phone and you can't get that motivation clear early in the appointment, chances are you're not going to walk out of there with a listing. So, that's one thing to always keep in mind. I mean, this is kind of 101 with you, is to make sure that you have a clear understanding of what their goals are and when they want to do it.
Yeah. So let me just pause there for a second and help the audience to really understand what you're saying. I was just on a coaching call literally yesterday. And one of the agents said, I set 8 listing appointments in January. Every single one canceled on me. And I said, well, how soon, I don't know if you were there or not. I said, how soon are the calls done after the prospect says, yes, I'll meet with you? And he said, immediately. As soon as they say, yes, I'll meet with you, I am trying to get off that phone as fast as possible. And I said, that's the problem, is because guys like Peter Hunt don't get excited when prospect says, sure, Peter, come on over. There's some more due diligence there. There's some more questions that need to be asked. There's some more conversation to be had so that we don't end up meeting with every Tom, Dick, and Harry just because, we got this appointment, we want to ring the bell. Speak to that a little bit.
No, you're right. You're 100% right. I mean, when you have a potential prospect on the phone, there are things that we need to get from them during that conversation to understand whether or not it's going to be worth your time. Right?
That's right. So, and if they're not willing to do that, Peter, do you go on the appointment or do you just no?
No, I mean, early on, when
right.
Early in the business, I would take anything that I could. I would talk to anybody that I could. But after time and having these conversations, and you begin to understand what's real and what's bullshit.
That's right.
Okay. So, just understand that when they tell you our home is being built in Florida, we have a completion date of April 15th. They're giving you some pretty great information.
Absolutely.
But if somebody says we're thinking about moving to Florida, well, when are you thinking about moving? Well, I don't know. Are you both still working? Yeah, I work and I'm not retiring for another 3 or 4 years. Great. I can't wait to see you. You got to be able to filter that and understand what she's telling you. Yeah. I'm not ready is what she's telling you.
Yeah. Smart. Which then that's a whole nother episode is active listening, right? So let's talk about follow-up for a second. A lot of, I would say, well, I'll ask you, of the closed business that you did last year, of the couple $100,000 that you made in 2022, how much of that income was generated from maybe one conversation with a human versus multiple conversations or meetings or follow-up that led to business? Like, in other words, how much business comes from lead generation versus lead follow-up?
It's all lead follow-up.
Yeah.
It's all lead follow-up. And admittedly, I suck at it. So
we all do.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't give yourself an honest assessment of what you're good at and what you're not, my lead follow-up is awful. And I am working with some agents from our academy that are phenomenal with their lead follow-up. And I learn from them every day.
Sure.
Nicole gives me the pat on the ass every day. It says, go get them. Don't forget to call this one. Don't forget to do this. Because you need to have a system that works for you. Your system with folders and dates is just, it's simple. It's 101. And sometimes I don't follow it. So, I'm writing down names and numbers in books. I'm an old guy. So I'm not a big spreadsheet guy. And to wrap my head around numbers sometimes can be challenging. So I'm a big writer. I write things down. But when I know something is a hot lead, whether it's going to happen in the next 2 months or in the next 12 months, I'm going to stay in touch with that person.
Yeah.
And it's all about follow-up. And when you call them, you don't just check in and say, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Give them some value, right? They want to know what's happening. If somebody tells me, the woman I spoke to yesterday that was talking about listing potentially in the next 6 to 9 months, when I call her the next time, it's going to be, hey, I just wanted you to know 2 other homes just hit the market in your area. And the one I initially called you on went under contract. And from what I'm hearing, they got 4 offers on the house. So it looks like the activity level right on your block, in your neighborhood is still great. And what else can I give you today? What other information do you need? Do you think I should do some painting beforehand? Well, why don't we plan on getting together in the next couple of weeks? And we'll look at the house and see what you should be planning to do this summer, because you've still got 9 months before you're going to put it on the market. So you can meet
Love
them,
it. So good, Peter.
And start to give them value from the beginning that they can count on you through the whole process.
Yeah, that's amazing. And aren't you finding, and I don't want to assume anything, but are you finding that you're winning the business through lead follow-up and that the presentation is almost really non-existent because through the lead follow-up, like that lady as an example, when it comes time to put the sign in the front yard, you've already won the business through serving 100%. Her, right? Yeah, that's amazing.
100%.
Yeah. So
you have these touches, and they could be every 45 days when it's a year,
right.
When it's a year out. Just make sure that they count. Make sure that they remember you, right?
Yeah. Well, that's my next question is, have you gotten better? I would assume you've gotten better at that over time, which is, what is a lead and what isn't a lead? Like, we're not just following up with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. It's like you said it earlier in the conversation. You know what an opportunity sounds like now that maybe you didn't hear at the beginning, because the new agent just says everybody's an opportunity and they have that scarcity mindset. Have you done a better job now of saying, well, that's an actual lead, that's an actual opportunity, this is someone who I'm actually going to pay attention to versus not? And if so, what is your criteria? What are you listening for that suggests that it is an opportunity?
Again, the same things that we're constantly talking about. Do they have somebody that they're committed to, right? That's one that we want to get on the table right away, because you have to respect if they do, if they have
100%.
Had a conversation with an expired 2 days ago, $1.5 million expired. She came off the market and I couldn't figure out why. And when I got her on the phone, I said, wow, the house is just amazing. She goes, our timing wasn't right. I said, I totally get it. Are you planning on doing something this year? She said, absolutely. I said, are you committed to someone? She said, I am. I said, I wish you all the best and I respect your loyalty.
I love it. It's great, Peter.
And you know what? When I sent her my business card just as a follow-up to say thank you for the call, I did throw in there, listen, if anything happens down the line and you need a backup, hold on to my information. She'll remember that
absolutely.
She'll remember that.
No doubt. So you're really you're not afraid to hear the word no anymore. Quite frankly, you look for people to tell you no, because you save a lot of time in who you're following up with and who you're not, and where you're spending your time, energy, and effort, which is a finite amount, right? And so
Yeah.
you're really asking them questions. And if they've got somebody that they're already working with, it's like, fine, no problem, on to the next one. Is that right?
Yeah, earlier in my career, and it's not a long career, but I could think back not long ago, and just the feelings of disappointment that I would have when things didn't go the way I had hoped that they would.
Sure.
And it's because I did not welcome no. Now I welcome that. I mean, tell me now. Tell me on that first conversation, no, I'm committed. No, I'm not selling. All that stuff. Thank you. Off to the next one, because I don't want to have to spend any time on somebody that's got no plans.
Yeah, that's such a great point, Peter. Yeah, because someone's not going to do business with you. Do you want to know now, or do you want to know in 6 months from now? After following up and getting heartbroken, to your point, or you call back and find out, well, I've already sold, the house is sold. Where have you been? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, geez, well, because you just beat around the bush, you didn't talk about it. Anyway, So if you could get licensed all over again, you told us your story about, transitioning your career and getting your license in 2020. But if you saw the Peter who was coming out of the exam center, he passed his exam, and the current Peter, what do you say to yourself? What advice would you give to that Peter?
Well, if there's one thing that I could have done differently, okay, because my mother was a realtor, I would have gotten into the real estate business at the age of 18 or 20, not at 55. That's number one. And what I would tell the excited Peter that had the document and the passing sheets walking out of the testing center is be smart about your time. Don't commit times to things that are not going to come to fruition. Be really, really smart, and you get smarter the more you listen, right? I'm one of those people that has a tendency to talk and pontificate, and I just go and go and go. It took me a long time to slow down. I still challenge myself to shut up, because you need to have the ability to step back and let them tell you what they want to do, as opposed to you trying to lead them to do something. I haven't met a human being in this business that has ever talked somebody into selling a house. It just doesn't happen. People are going to do business when it's time to do business, whether that's a need business, or if they're not needy, if they don't need to sell because they lost their job, or we're having a baby and we need more space, or we have 5 bedrooms and we don't need it. Those are people that need to do things. I got transferred across the country. I need to do this. And then you got people that go, wow, I would love to sell my house for $800,000.
Right.
Your house is worth $550,000. So I'm not even going to take that listing and waste my time. If it's close, I will.
Sure.
And we'll have conversation about that. But I'm not going to waste my time on things like that. So it's really about managing your time and expectations with everybody that you work with.
Smart. Super great advice. Well, listen, Peter, we appreciate your time, right, in pouring into this podcast and helping the newer folks that are just kind of coming up. And thank you for doing this with us. We do appreciate it very much.
Brandon, thank you very much. And I can't thank you and your team for all that you've done for me, and the people that I've been able to surround myself with that make me a better agent. It's just the best place in the world to be. I love you, man.
Appreciate it, Peter. Best of luck to
Lions.
you. Go Lions. Let's go. I appreciate you, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon. All right, brother?
All right, bud.
All right.
Take care.
Ya. Yep. Bye-bye.